Hello, everyone. Welcome to another BDPA Tech and Career Talk. I am your National Tech and Career Talk leader, Devin Jenkins. I serve as a IT BRM manager for our U.S. and Canada region at GE Healthcare. I also am the founder and CEO of Share the Vibes LLC, where we connect people through music and technology. So we are glad to have you with us. I reside in Charlotte, North Carolina, joining you today from Atlanta, Georgia. So pretty close to our guest here today. I want to be a little bit closer, to really feel the vibes today. But we're glad to have you with us. If you're watching this on YouTube, thank you for watching us. Like, share, subscribe, comment below, click the bell so you know when we post, and share this with somebody who needs to hear this message, because you know someone who needs to hear it. So don't be selfish, don't gatekeep. Share this so we can spread the wealth with everybody in our community. So thank you for tapping in with us today. Excited to have our friends at Vanguard Consulting Group with us for another very special and powerful conversation. So I'm looking forward to a great one today. Before we jump into today's conversation, I always like to give a little bit of context on what BDPA is, what we're all about, what this platform is, why we're here, just in case you're new. And want to just know a little bit about what it is that we're doing. So we are BDPA, Black Data Processing Associates. The organization started in 1975 in Philadelphia as a forum to continue to build the African American talent pipeline in the technology industry. We have a focus on youth and adults, especially starting at the middle school level. So, our middle and high school students go through computer programming skills, training, and development around the country at our different chapters. There's professional development components of that as well, but making sure they have the skills and the background to be able to thrive in technology careers going forward. And for our collegiate students and our professionals, we continue to have avenues to continue to develop your skills and upskill, expand your networks, get connected with opportunities to make sure we're continuing to thrive in our careers as well. So our mantra is advancing careers from the classroom to the boardroom. The Tech and Career Talks take place second and fourth Friday of each month. Every now and then there's an exception, but for the most part, that's what we're here. These conversations are 1 hour. We bring in different speakers, speaking on a range of topics. Some are cyber, AI related. We've gotten into some really kind of tech geek out subjects on these things. Then we also have softer skill conversations around emotional intelligence, updating your LinkedIn and your resume, how to navigate to where you want to be in your careers. So we give you a range of topics and discussions. So regardless of whether you're a student trying to figure out what's next for you, or you're a senior executive getting ready to retire, or you're already retired, it doesn't matter, anywhere in between. We want something that everyone can take value from, regardless of where you are in your career. So excited to have you with us today. Before we jump in, I have to say this is 50 years. You heard me say 1975, so this is year 50 for BDPA. We're in our 50-year golden anniversary. So we are super excited for this year's anniversary conference going down in Atlanta, Georgia, August 13th through the 16th. We are going to have an amazing time. The team is working extremely hard to put together a magical experience this year. So if you've never been to a BDPA conference before, this is the year to be there. So go to conference.bdpa.org, register today. I think the early bird rate still might be going. It may not, but whatever it is, go register so you can be with us in Atlanta in August. We're going to have an amazing time. Great speakers lined up. You heard from our keynote address last Tech Talk, actually. So we're going to go even deeper in that conversation there in August. So make sure you're there with us and tell a friend, bring them with you too. I got some special surprises in store for you. So looking forward to that. Always glad to have you all with us, watching us, tuned in. But without further ado, I'm going to turn it over to Akil Bektimba, our highly trusted partner at Vanguard Consulting Group, also one of our conference co-chairs this year, who's making that experience be what it's going to be. So glad to have you, Akil, and Mr. Chris. I'll let you introduce our guest and drive us through today's conversation.
Absolutely, absolutely. Thank you so much, Devin, and your leadership and this partnership is amazing. I love doing this with you, so I appreciate the opportunity and the platform. Good morning and welcome, everybody. My name is Akil Bektemba. As Devin said, I'm the president and CEO of Vanguard Consulting Group LLC. My colleague and friend Christopher Willars is going to be here. I'm going to introduce him. And I want to introduce him in a real way because he's an amazing guy, and you're going to learn a lot about him and what he's doing. But I like to always kind of introduce as my I like to call him my Steve Harvey introduction, but Chris is definitely our special guest. He's a justice impacted warrior. He's a community advocate. He's a coalition builder. He's a trainer. He's an educator, and he's a leader. And so he's joining us today. But before we get started in this great conversation, I just want to do a little bit of housekeeping. Um, Throughout today's discussion, please, 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 we're going to field as many questions as we can as time allows. But during the session, we want you to utilize the chat feature and put your questions in there. We'll be monitoring the chat feature as we go through and kind of plugging your questions in with my questions and making sure that whatever you guys are interested in knowing about through this session, that you get a chance to participate in that way. So plug in into the chat your any questions, comments, and we'll make sure that we get through them as we go through. So before, as we get started, welcome, Chris.
What's going on, man?
It's good to see you. Good to see you, man. Um, as we get started, I want to kind of give people a chance to learn a little bit about you. I do definitely have some real kind of in-depth questions about what you do and what your career is about today, and how you moving through incorporating social media and technology into your work. And so, just to get started, and you could be as brief as you want, but as your friend and partner. I know what brought you to this point in your journey, but I'd love to share with the audience and our friends who are on this call, what was your life's plot twist, and what makes you so passionate about what you do, and what brought us here today.
Yeah, man. Thank you, bro. Really appreciate anytime we get to connect. And thank you to everybody for spending some time with us today, especially the BDPA for facilitating this conversation as well. Man, I always start off any opportunity I'm given to speak, any setting, by simply saying, I'm not supposed to be here. And when I say that, I mean that. When he asked me what my plot twist was, or that point that kind of shifted me, that led me all the way here, it started in 2003, and I was 19 years old, and I'm 41, getting ready to turn 42 in what, a week or so. So that tells you how long the journey's been for the most part. But in 2003, as a 19-year old, um, basically because of a decision I made that lasted for about 30 seconds, I ended up getting sentenced in prison to 144 years. I was active duty military at the time. I had a 4.0 GPA in college courses. I had everything going that should be going for a young person at the time. But due to some poor decisions that I made, because I hold myself accountable, I ended up deciding that I drive my cousin and his friends up the street to go stick a place up with a BB gun. And it's important. Just want to note that part because of the work that I do. 144 years for a BB gun, for a robbery where nobody was even physically touched, and I never left the vehicle nor touched the BB gun. And this has been essentially the starting point for me and my career in advocacy. I started to advocate for myself while I was fighting my case. I advocated for myself in prison, and I made it home after 16 years, 11 months, um, a decade and a half plus later. By the way, technology drastically shifted, and I left before social media existed to that point. I think there may have been like MySpace or Black Planet if you're my age group. But I came home to an entirely new world. 17 years later, new technology, the pandemic getting ready to start, and I wanted to advocate. I still wanted to tell the story. I still had brothers that were incarcerated, and that's where it started, essentially.
Perfect, perfect. And as I didn't say in the intro, but you are the leadership, the founder of the Life Unit, and this is your organization that you work through, doing amazing, amazing work. Um, Given your story and what brought to that point, what was kind of defining moment or series of moment that birthed the Life Unit? I think I think that your personal, obviously, your personal piece to it is enough, but it became an organization, and it became a business, and your platform. So, what birthed the Life Unit? And then as a follow-up, what gap did you see that tech could fill for justice impacted individuals like yourself?
And so the Life Unit is a 501c3 that focuses primarily on prevention work, intervention, and reentry work. And to put it simple, it was birthed in the prisons. It
Mm.
was birthed on a level 4 yard Sussex 2 state prison, which thank God is closed down now, and rightfully so. Um, but it started there. I was under the mentorship of an individual that's still incarcerated to this day for over 20 plus years, has 11 years left on his sentence. His name is Poetic Life of Law. Um, and he's somebody that taught me the value of myself. He was like that old school individual in the movies that said, "Hey, young, and read these books. You know what I'm saying? Learn about Ethiopia, get some knowledge yourself. You know these things." Um, and that's really where it birthed. And it also, while I was incarcerated, I remember my public defender coming and telling me as a 19-year-old kid that you were going to get 54 years to do. And in that moment, I had the opportunity to do what a lot of young people didn't do or don't do. And I told him, no, I can't do that. And he told me, well, I'll give you 2 minutes to figure out what I need to tell the prosecutor and the judge in order to make them happy, since you don't want to go my route. And this was my public defender. And within 2 minutes, as a 19-year-old kid, I made a decision that would ultimately bring me home in 16 years, 11 months, because I told him I just wanted to be home before I turned 40, which might sound crazy to some. But if we discuss the justice system, or you know the horrors of it and over sentencing,
Yeah.
it was in that moment. That was the first time I advocated for myself, carried that over into the system in certain situations. Um, but that part. And then coming home into a new world, uh, 17 years later, from 2003 to 2020, from Nextel chirps where nobody was texting to smartphones. I had been told while I was incarcerated I was a pretty good speaker. I was given some opportunities to facilitate some things, some groups while incarcerated. And I just seen an urgency and a need and a gap. But not only was I getting ready to put information out there that would help others, more importantly, even on this side of things, I started to use social media to advocate for myself.
Big that. So in the tech world, folks also often talk about disruption,
Yeah.
and that's really, that's how tech continues and grows and doing all the things. What would you say the Life Unit is disrupting, and why does disruption matter so much right now?
Yeah, the Life Unit, we actively and purposely disrupt. We seek systems that need to be disrupted, and we have good reputation. We just got a proclamation in honor for our own day in the city of South Fulton. But we're known to ruffle some feathers at times, but we're proud to ruffle those feathers. Um, I think what sets us apart, respectfully, from a lot of nonprofits that are operating in the justice impacted zone is we definitely utilize social media and technology in order to get information, education, and any needs in terms of advocacy out there.
Mhm.
And it's given my organization and myself the ability to reach millions monthly from a place where, when I look around at the landscape, and I've got love for these organizations, but they're limited in regards to their reach and their audience.
Mhm.
Our organization, though we're Georgia based, man, we're definitely working on impact in the world.
Yeah, and to mention the work you're doing in California, the work you're doing up in Boston and other places, I definitely don't want to leave that out. I'm glad you mentioned that. Kind of transitioning a little bit into more into technology as a tool for restoration, which I know that you are completely about and that you'll be doing. Um, and you mentioned already, which is funny because I remember Black Planet. I remember, Nextel and all that stuff. I'm 52, so that stuff was definitely around during those times. How do you see digital tools, apps, platforms, automation, all of those things supporting the reentry process, specifically in ways in ways that traditional services, like you said, where things fall short? How do you see these platforms?
It depends. It,
Yeah.
it depends on the state and that you're in, the location, locale, etc. I'm fortunate, like you mentioned, I get to travel. I recently was just up in Maine,
Hmm.
where they have tablets and they have access to the law library, they have access to reentry program, and they have access to financial literacy programs. They have access to all of these things. But if I turn around and I go to a state, say like Georgia, or another state further out west, etc., there's no access to any of this.
Mm.
So it's not uniformed. What I will say is, first and foremost, there's a learning gap and there's a learning curve for many of us that are incarcerated when it comes to technology.
Okay.
So even with the technology in place, I'm always running around and telling people, man, who's teaching the guys how to actually get into these programs, navigate, operate, facilitate?
Right.
But in terms of technology, when you do know how to navigate it and people are able to walk you through some things, man, just being able to access certain platforms like Honest Jobs, which is a website dedicated to felons, and people don't like that. Listen, whatever. That's how they see us, unfortunately, when we fill out the applications a lot of times.
That's right.
If I go to a website like this, it limits the guesswork. It takes away some of the anxiety because all the jobs and a multitude of different resources are right there in this database. And there's other websites. Understanding how to utilize Chat GPT is extremely valuable right now. I
Mm.
did a whole class teaching individuals that were system impacted how they can research their cases to file for appeals and do different things. That you don't find resources out there, ask questions to that you may not necessarily have a resource or somebody to answer to on the spot.
Mm.
But ultimately, technology can be a great tool when it's used right. Just like for anybody, whether you're incarcerated or you're free, social media technology with the right focus, man, you can definitely make an impact.
I and we're gonna put in the chat all of your channels. But we talk about, you talk about social impact through social media and through technology, which you have mastered, like very few that I know. When did you realize that social impact can be amplified through social media platforms and channels like YouTube and other ones that you're on? And then can you share for the audience what other less known platforms? Because we know, everybody knows YouTube, but I know you're on some other things that I've seen you on and that I've supported you on. There's some other platforms that are less known, that you found to still be effective in expanding your message and your digital footprint. What are some of those? And I going to back to the first part of it. When did you realize, oh man, this is catching fire? What people don't know is you have almost 2 million followers. So let's validate it by saying that. But when was it that you just were like, oh wait, this is the lane that I'm jumping in?
I came home and I started posting and I had a little traction and there was some motion there, but I wasn't a social media guy yet. I was still a guy that was locked up in my, still caught up on that. I
Mm.
came home, yeah, I did a post, it's cool, but I don't know if I want to do this. But what happened was this. I was watching other individuals that were system impacted, and respectfully, it's not a race thing, but they were all white. And I
Right.
was like, man, I see an opening for me,
Sure.
you know? And I started to tell the stories from the perspectives of black and brown people incarcerated and everybody, but started to get some traction. Meanwhile, I was hanging off the back of a garbage truck, like working as a garbage man for about 3 years. A lot of people think like my life's all I ain't no, I was touching your trash out
Yeah.
there. And I remember it was a Wednesday and my manager, respectfully, he did some really shady stuff and he tried to carry me on a job. And anybody that knows me, man, I'll quit. That's what
Mm.
I'll do and I'll figure it out. And I
Mm.
called my wife and she was like, come home. You need to still do the social media thing.
Mm.
There was a little bit of buzz there, right? And quit my job on a Wednesday. Thursday morning, I did a TikTok post, and I was getting ready to go DoorDash until I could figure it out. And all of a sudden, like 2 hours later, my homeboy starts hitting my phone. He's like, bruh, he's like, you got to pull over. Go check your TikTok.
Yeah.
And it was like 2 million views. And I called my wife and she was like, yeah, you need to just not work. You need to do this. So
Yeah.
that was the moment, I don't know, some people call it luck. I call it God, but you call it what you will. And I never once looked back. And I just want to say this to anybody, whether you're dealing with the tech stuff, social media, business, man, when that moment comes, it's still scary, but that
Mm.
moment may not come back around, man. And I want to encourage you, man, take that leap, because when
Yeah.
I did, I was able to start really making impact. And it didn't just help the world, it helped me, it helped my family. It really shifted things. And in regards to social media, the different platforms, monthly, I'm averaging about 120 million views right now, just between Facebook and Instagram. And I'm on TikTok for sure. That's where it started. I'm on YouTube. But I definitely want to shout out platforms like LinkedIn.
Yeah.
For me, being a social media guy, it's a blessing to be monetized. It enables me to do some things outside of social media, but it's the opportunities, it's the connections that you can make, and it's the people that you can link with. And I got on LinkedIn a little bit late, but I literally get on LinkedIn and I try to request meetings with 100 people, a week or whatever. And I might only get 2 callbacks, but those are 2 new rooms that I'm in. And those are
Right.
new rooms I can promote my brand or my dreams or my visions. I can, whatever it is. And then there's other platforms, because I'm a facilitator. I'm really passionate. I do not just create content, but I facilitate online support groups. And I work with this one organization called Speak Dads and all that. I want to shout them out. And we utilize a platform called Circle. Circle is somewhere we can round our people up, we can interact, we can engage, we can build a community there. And then for my younger people, I don't want to keep going in on this question, but Discord is getting ready to get jumping, because I'm getting ready
Yeah.
to get to streaming. The youngins is like, yo, OG, you got to stream. So we're getting ready to get into that in my own way. We're going to utilize Discord because it's a platform that younger people are utilizing. But ultimately, any platform that's out there, you have the ability to connect with people. You just got to find that audience and that niche that wants to be there, and they're there, man. I promise you.
That's so. Um, the algorithms often overlook people with criminal records, and you kind of mentioned, honest jobs and other things, but those algorithms are in place, and they like I said, overlook people with criminal records. How can digital storytelling, and I think you kind of touched on this already, but I want you to expand a little bit. Can digital storytelling, like you do, and not everybody is as charismatic, and you're not gonna see me doing the OG skits and all that stuff. I might make an appearance if you want me to, but you're not gonna see a lot of folks doing that, and you've done a really good job. But how can just give folks a little bit of how the digital storytelling through those platforms that you use kind of flip that script and that understanding and that how people view folks with that are justice impacted.
Well, first, I want to say this: everybody should be able to tell their story.
Yeah.
Everybody, you know your struggles, and the key to it all. One thing that I've learned, and some people may beg to differ, but I don't know. I believe wholeheartedly that the storyteller right now is the most valuable person in society. And I'm not saying that because I'm a storyteller. I'm saying that because any brand, any business, they need storytellers. They need people that can connect, whether
Mm.
it's screen, in person, but also you got to be able to tell your story as a justice impacted person, because you're going to have to advocate for yourself. You're
Yeah.
going to have to fight to get into new opportunities, rooms, experiences, whatever it is. Um, I understood relatively quickly how impactful social media can be, especially with telling my story. First, because I needed support as an individual. And coming home from prison, you could be connected to people, but you could still feel alone. A lot of people in my circle, they're not going to prison. Now, my brothers that I met in there, but my family in there, they knew nothing about it.
Right.
But when I started posting and telling my story, here came the support. individuals that could relate. The next thing that happened was people started to want to connect and give me an opportunity to tell their story in spaces that were their own, where they felt like we could make an impact. So when people ask me, like, if I had to title myself in one thing, I used to say motivational speaker, but now I just say storyteller.
Right,
You know,
right.
I see
Dig
the,
that.
yeah.
So I think, one of the huge values of what you do, there's a lot of obviously a lot of stereotypes out there when that are tagged next to anybody that's justice impacted, um, or justice involved. And so what you do is incredible to change the narrative and give different perspective and different realization that, people are human beings. They like you, this, that, and the other, and all these things. My question, and we're gonna move on to the next section, but my question here, and this just because you mentioned the number of views that you get per month and that kind of that, it's an amazing number. I didn't even know it was that high. Um, what advice can you give an organization or an individual who wants to go viral and with impact, not just clicks, and how can they be loud and intentional, but they want to go viral so that their story gets out, similar to how you've done it, but not just clicks. 'Cause obviously, you're not gonna monetize clicks, right? You're not gonna monetize, certain, views or whatever. But for it to go a certain way in order for them to either have the exposure or the growth that they like to see, similar to yours. What would you get any advice for that?
Man, yeah. Tying into what previously had asked, doing the OG characters and all that. One, you have to be creative.
Yeah.
You have to be creative in this space if you're trying to go viral. Like, anybody can post, you can post informative stuff but you got to get their attention, whoever it is that's seeing your piece of content, your post, within like 3 to 5 seconds.
Hmm.
I mean, you might get 1 second, 2 seconds. So it's either got to be a sound, a sight. It has to be something that cues them in. And if you look at a lot of my stuff, there's always bold words, caption. There's something I'm trying to catch them 2, 3 different ways,
Right.
long enough to stick around. And by then, hopefully, I've done my part. The next part is, though, with social media, you need credible messengers. If you've got a brand as the executive, it may not be you that needs to be the messenger. You
Right.
may have the guy that you're connected to that can definitely drive the point home. Identify for your brand who that credible messenger is, man.
Yeah.
Identify that. You want somebody that can speak from a place of transparency through the lens, but you also want somebody that's got good reputation too.
Right.
You know, the other thing is, oh, stop fitting into like whatever stigma and stereotype you may have about social media. Social media is only negative if you take it there. My
Hmm.
algorithm is not negative. People be like, my algorithms is motivational quotes, speakers, science, dogs, stuff I like. Um,
Hmm.
so you feed the beast and you get in return what it is that you put into it. It's the same thing with your social media. And also, I want to say this, and I got to limit my responses. I'm really passionate about this, guys.
No, go ahead. You're good.
It's not always an overnight thing,
Yeah.
and there's a lot of people that are way better content creators than me, way better storytellers, speakers, all this, but they gave up before I did.
Yeah.
I've watched some of these people, and yo, please, bro, keep going. It takes time, but
Yeah.
man, once your brand, your nonprofit, your store gets to rolling, man, just keep consistent and it grows, man. I
I
promise you.
think and there's a couple takeaways that I want to make sure people hammer in from what you just said. One, and you are, I obviously follow you and support you on all of your channels. And one thing that I will say, and that I think people should understand, is that most of your content is original content.
Yeah.
Very, very few times, or there's some stuff that you'll repost, and
Yeah.
there's some things that are going on that you definitely repost and support. But most of the things that you put out, and it is a barrage of content that you put out, and it's original content. And when you talk about authenticity and being who you are, and creating these characters and being the right spokesperson, all of that stuff folds into what you do, and I think that that's important. And then, like you said, the consistency is key. And sticking to it. I think that those are things that are super important. Next thing I was thinking about, and I wanted to ask you, and this kind of goes into a little shift here, but what are the biggest misconceptions that funders or policymakers you think have about tech, um, and how tech can be used for justice reform? A lot of the work that I know you're growing into is starting to get into. You're working, like you said, you just got the proclamation. There are things happening where you're partnering with different entities, government entities, other entities, justice entities. What are some misconceptions that we should know that we can utilize, how we can utilize, I guess, tech for justice reform in that space?
Yeah. When you support tech with justice impacted people, the right justice impacted people, because some of us as justice impacted people, we're just speakers. Some of us are
Yeah.
good at setting up events, whatever, but there is a percentage of us that can help utilize tech. I'm in a conversation right now, I don't mind speaking about it, where I'm out here and I'm actively educating people because I'm trying to get funding on this project with reentry and all this and blah, blah, blah. What I find one of the biggest hurdles and obstacles is, first and foremost, is the education piece. And sometimes a lot of times our funders, our donors, they've never been to prison, first and foremost. So there needs to be a track record built. You got to build something. This is for my system impacted people first, and show them. And that's okay, because nobody wants to just give you a check without seeing what
Sure.
you do with it. But the other thing is, there's also the age group that I see. I talked about the learning obstacles or hurdles for system impacted or justice impacted people coming home from prison, but a lot of people that are able to fund, donate, etc., they're typically, from what I see, older,
Mm-hmm.
which we love them, but they don't understand social media or technology generally the way that somebody maybe younger does, and there's these disconnections that occur. But it's education, it's continuous conversation. I go back to this credible messengers piece. I know I got Harley Blakeman, I spoke about his website, Honest Jobs. I feel
Mm-hmm.
like those of us that are in the tech area or social digital, we have to refer our brothers and sisters to the donors, is what I'm getting to, and show them good track record. But when we bring it together, man,
Yeah.
powerful things occur.
Very powerful. I like that you mentioned that you don't always have to be, or someone doesn't always have to be the face and do everything. Um, how do you use technology to bring visibility to people doing the work behind the scenes? You talk about your wife. I met her, and she handles business.
Peace.
And Genesis, I want to give a shout out to Genesis and the whole team. But those case managers, those mentors, those other community advocates, how do you use technology to kind of bring visibility to them? And I know you just mentioned honestjobs.com and how shouting out and plugging these other folks, but what do you think about how we can do that a little better?
Capture the moments. Capture the moments. You remember back in the day, and some of this maybe before y'all, but back in the day, aunties and them, they was running around with the Polaroid cameras, at the family functions, right? You get your team out there and y'all are in motion, man, and y'all are speaking or y'all are assisting in the community. Capture those moments, man.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's what makes the connections.
Mm-hmm.
People want to see that. And me, I never wanted to be the face, honestly. And people be like, yeah, no, I promise you. But maybe we're past that point now. But I will be forever highlighting my team. And
Yeah,
I enjoy not just capturing the moments when they expect it, but capturing those moments when they don't, man.
that's right.
Social media, creating content, putting something to the world, for some is just making a post. For me, that's a part of my life. If
Mm-hmm.
I'm posting my brother Yadulahi because he just facilitated an event, I'm not just posting it because I want views. I'm posting it because I really believe in this moment, and I
That's right.
share this with y'all. You know, and unfortunately, again, this is something that you don't often see with a lot of the organizations that work in our space. I'm always like telling people, like, come on, let's do this, let's capture, let's
Yeah.
show our digital, footprint. But that's how I do it, man. It's those raw moments.
Yeah, and you, I mean, just the you know the way you humanize, you know, I mean, I've never been to prison, full transparency. I know plenty cats who have, you know, and knowing you, and the fact that you know people have to see this because obviously, you know, when people go into the system, um, there's a stigma, and unfortunately, that stigma is unfair most of the time. It doesn't really match the individual, and so I really appreciate we appreciate that and the way that you explain that. I do want to ask you though. I think this is important. So we talked about funding a little bit and those things. Um, if you had an unlimited budget, if you had an unlimited budget and a global digital stage, what kind of tech-powered platform or movement would you build for the justice impacted? And this probably could take us 45 minutes by itself, but as brief as you can, what would that look like?
Uh, Briefly, it's
But
this is literally something I think about at times, and for some people it might be far fetched, but keep working hard and things become more and more possible. I would hands down, I would implement and create the biggest global reentry site interface. It would literally be a digital university and a learning space like no other. I have the intricacies in my head that I refuse to put on paper because I know the checks coming. I know we're gonna get to the point where we're gonna be able to get some of these things, but I know because I'm seeing it now, and I believe I'm in a beginning phase. And a lot of people are like, "Yo, you got 100 million views," but I know the impact. I know the people that I can get into the spaces digitally. I know the types of classes we can teach. And
right,
if this is created, I know we can get it into the systems. I know we can get it into other countries. I know this
for
because
sure.
we need. And also, I'm a certified peer specialist in mental health. I'm a forensic peer mentor, certified through the state, and I'm fortunate enough to have conversations not just here, but where I travel. I know the needs, and
Right.
everything I would create digitally through this space, man, it would be
It's
wired
gonna
up.
be a monster. It's gonna be a monster.
Bro,
And
my heart rate started jumping because
I saw well, anybody that's watching this could see the look on your face when I asked that question. So that's dope. And I a lot of this stuff I know I want to make sure that people know because I've had the fortunate opportunity to work with you and to do some things with you. So that you'll like this next question. The next question is, we know that humor is a teaching tool, and I've seen you in your presentations. We've done presentations together. What's the funniest or most unexpected thing that's ever happened during one of your trainings or speaking events? And how did you flip it into a teachable moment?
man, funniest thing at a training event. Um, you know what? It's not a training event. It's all right.
Could
So
be anything. Yeah.
I had a vocational school.
Yep.
I had a
Yeah.
vocational school. And I was principal. I was executive director. Blah blah. And I was scared to death of my students finding out that I had been to prison
Oh, interesting.
because all my students are women and I'm the guy with the tattoos already. And, it's my wife's dream and it's a great school, but I'm scared.
Mm-hmm.
Boom. So we're going into the period where I'm getting ready to teach them and train because it correlates to training
Mm-hmm.
barbering skills for the cosmetology students, hair design students, da da da. And as I'm getting ready to set up, the students are sitting around me, and all of a sudden I hear my voice. I'm like, and I look, and all the students are looking at a post of me on social media. And it was a blessing to me. They weren't
Yeah.
scared, they was laughing. And I was like, I guess the cat's out the bag.
That's the icebreaker, right?
You were like, Mr. Chris, we been knew you was on social media. You're tripping. Like, but what happened was instead of doing in the barbering that day, we went into social media and strategy 101 because
Awesome.
they were like, damn, the ice was broke. We said,
Yeah.
oh, now I got a million questions. How you do this? Da-da-da-da. And it's the start of how I actually created the curriculum, the 101 curriculum that I give
Mhm.
for social media marketing strategy and all that stuff. But it was a great moment.
Yeah, I had to pull that out of you because I know that that's fun. And I like I said, I've been in space with you and done workshops with you, and there's always, and you use a lot of humor in your posts and what you put out in your content, which is super cool. I'm going to switch a little bit to a little more. So if you could send one message to every HR department, and this kind of goes back to what we were talking about, if you could send one message to every HR department in the country about working with justice impacted community, especially in the digital space, what would it say?
Have your vetting process, but be willing to take a chance.
Yeah.
I can tell you personally, for as many accolades I have, for as many views or what, I lost 2 opportunities with based off HR decisions because of my past.
Mm-hmm.
Because I drove in a robbery. I'm known as a violent ex-offender, right? And the tragedy in that, I believe, and it's not about me, but I gotta believe in myself that much that if I had been hired into these positions or given these contracts or whatever, I would have made an impact.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of HR departments they're still hiring guys. And I want to speak to this tech space thing, but they're hiring like the safer bets, which makes sense in a way. But man, you've got some guys they're making impact, but they got murders on their jacket. I'm just being honest with you. I know some guys in Philly, they got great organizations and all that. They can't get into certain doors, but at the same time, they doing intervention in the streets. So in the tech space, that being said, man, for the type of work that we're doing in the justice arena, you need storytellers, and your storytellers are going to be those cats that came from the roughest of spaces. And
Have stories. Yeah.
right, and we're not trying to reach the safe audience for the
Right.
work that we're doing in the justice. We're trying to make change where people ain't trying to hear our message.
Mm-hmm.
People ain't trying to, you know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
the ones a chance that maybe you would overlook in certain moments because the guy that got the tattoos on their face or whatever, or maybe if you look at his jacket in 1999, he
Right.
had a crazy joint, but it's 20. Give him a chance and let him
Yeah.
the boards. Yeah.
No, and that's why I asked that. And I think to the other point there, and you made it as well, is that um, it's not just the ones that they feel are safe work there, but the positions that they feel are the ones that they can allocate to, certain folks, right? And so I think that, there's a lot of justice impacted folks who have, made huge turnarounds, have done, amazing things, and maybe even that went in for something that was over sentenced, or it was, I mean, the system is the system.
Right.
And so they're not even considered for management level, director levels, C-suite level positions because of that, although they have all the capability, education, certifications, everything that they need in order to be there, right? So I think if I could add on to your message, is to give those folks a chance for those other positions as well. Because what you'll see is an example of what's offered. The justice impacted workforce, you and I talk about this all the time. The justice impacted workforce is huge, and it's huge with talent. So go ahead.
And I wanted to say this too, really quick. Typically, you give a guy that was making 27 cents in prison an opportunity to really, provide for his family, an
Yeah,
opportunity at a position outside of the warehouse, which there's nothing against the warehouse. I
right.
warehouses too, but the first time an individual say, "Hey, fly out here, we want you to do this," you think that I'm gonna mess that up?
Nope.
When you give an individual a chance, you empower them, and I tell you, a lot of times we don't take things for granted like somebody else makes. I just
Right.
want to throw that in there, bro.
That's
That
real.
was a great question though.
No, that's real. And you do so this is um I want to ask you this, and this is kind of a pivot a little bit, and we'll go back to some tech stuff in a second. But you do so much advocacy, education, speaking, consulting, community building, all the things you do. What keeps you grounded? What's one thing that you do You talked about your dogs a little bit earlier, but what's some things or one thing that you really do that brings you joy that's not to do with the work, quote unquote, the work? What just kind of on a personal note, what brings you joy?
I'll say first and foremost, for as much as I make this type of work seem all bubbly and positive, and I want to give you like one ugly perspective of the work that I do, because I'm seen the way that I am in social media, and because I advocate for people that are incarcerated. um, I'm recognized. I take pictures with people in airports, and that's really cool. But I
Mhm.
also receive threats.
Yeah,
Family receives threats.
yeah,
And I just wanted to say that it's an intense work. It's not as easy as just getting up here and posting 3 to 5 times a day. There's thought. There's concern with different topics. There's certain approaches that have to be made. There's all of this. And I'm always engaging with people too. You know that. Like, it's not
yeah,
just social media. A lot of guys that are just social media are just that.
yeah.
I'm in the trenches.
You out there, yeah.
I'm over here. I'm in the jails. So
Mhm.
for me, I stay in prayer and I disconnect. The
Right.
same way you shut your phone off for 30 seconds and,
Mhm.
and reboot it, I don't
Mhm.
shut myself, but I go out there in nature, and I live by two
Yeah,
mountains that aren't too far, and I go
yeah,
out there, and sometimes that's without the dogs. I'm
yeah,
out there, and look, unless it's my wife, that's the only one that's gonna ring.
sure.
Need that moment, man. And
Yeah.
everybody needs that moment to breathe, yo. Real talk.
Great point. Great point. And that breathing is important. That's the reset, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Um, So we're getting ready to close up pretty soon here, and this has been an amazing conversation. And we'll have many, many more of those. But I wanted to ask you, and this kind of around kind of the future tech forecast, and one, what excites you most about the intersection of AI, tech innovation, and digital access, especially for people who are justice impacted. And I know you kind of you touched on it a bit, but just going into what's coming in the future, and what you see down the road, and how it's going to be a tool for restoration for the justice impacted community that we love.
Man, I'll say personally, in not a shameless plug, because I talk about my stuff.
Yeah.
I'm getting ready to launch a bunch of digital, workbooks, reentry books, life skills books, how to survive in prison books, family,
Mhm.
all these different things, right? And side note, anybody else on the call, I'm not scared to give my ideas away. I feel like Elon Musk, not in that way, but he doesn't share, or he doesn't mind sharing. He don't put patents on his stuff, and neither do I, because I want us to all win.
That's
Um,
right.
but you can utilize platforms like AI. You can utilize certain things to create needed information for certain audiences and people, including justice impacted people. So I'm
Mhm.
really excited about that. I actually, like, I take classes on Chat GPT. Like, they're
Mhm.
not like no extensive, but you can sign up, you can follow their page. I'm
Yeah,
getting very, very familiar with AI. There's
yeah,
a big percentage of the people that do the work that I do, they're like, I ain't messing with that. And I'm
yeah.
not getting left behind. I'm
That's
gonna
right.
leverage it. I'm gonna utilize it because it's a great tool. And guess what? The individuals that are trying to counter the work that I'm doing, the individuals that are trying to put people in prison, the individual, they're
They use it.
utilizing AI.
Right.
Okay. And tech, another thing, same thing, man. I am actively and aggressively going to continue to occupy this space when it comes to technology. App development is directly in my targets
That's
right
right.
now. I've got a meeting next week, my first meeting, shout out to LinkedIn, with an app developer. I am fired up and ready to go, man.
That's fantastic.
Abilities are endless when it comes to you can we're teaching people in Kenya, and with all these things, and it's about impact, man.
Yeah,
And
talk about that global reach, right?
you gotta have that, man, because you're not trying to stay limited, man.
That's
You
right.
that stuff. Yeah.
So I guess along that same line there, is there something that's not out there that you think you would like to see, or that you think would be helpful? And the reason why I'm asking this, you know, we have just in person right now, we have 20 people on this who are tech people,
Right.
people from all over the community. BDPA is a tech organization.
Yep.
The access to folks who are just amazing
Yep.
are there. And so is there something out there that hasn't been developed yet that you like, man, we had this?
Like I said, I don't care. I give all my ideas away. If y'all beat me there, so
Don't
be it.
say it.
But
I'm gonna show you how to create it with AI yourself.
All right,
yeah.
go ahead.
But and thank you for that, Coach T. I appreciate that. But if somebody steals that, that's cool. But man, I have an AI office assistant. What if I had an AI reentry assistant?
Mm,
Because people aren't all accessible. Unfortunately, in the field that I'm a peer support, there's not enough of us for people coming home from prison every day. But guess what? There is enough of virtual assistants.
sure.
I think that would be great, if people were trying to utilize that. Somebody say you trying to get rid of my job already. I apologize. Saint, that's one of my team members from the life unit right there. You ain't going nowhere.
Yeah, saying you're not going nowhere.
He the one right there. But nonetheless, man, I think that'd be cool. There's some other things, but that alone, because I remember coming home after 17 years and people wanted to help, but they didn't have the answers that I needed.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't know where to point me because they didn't walk my path.
Yeah.
Could be a good thing.
So one more question, and then and then there's a couple hands up. I want to give some folks, Coach T definitely, and looks like Kenneth Riddick, so had a hand up. So I want to give people a couple chances to ask a couple questions or make some comments in our last couple minutes. But before we do that, I want to ask you. We don't mess around. We about that action. We talk about action, right? And so, kind of a closing call to action before we kind of open up the mic. If you could give the BDPA community one mission to champion that causes causes or gives capabilities those who've been through your similar journey, what would it be? And let me just clarify because I feel like that's a little bit jumbled. What would be the one mission that you would give or action that you think the BDPA technology community should know about or should be doing to support those that have been in your similar journey and are justice impacted? How what is one thing? And we have a community that cares, but they're very, very tech minded. This is a tech space. Just wondering if you can give a mission to BDPA, what would it be?
Well, to BDPA and any organization that has put in the work to build something, that is sound and legit and is doing great things. For us as system impacted people, justice impacted people, we need the education. Like, you don't have to be an advocate the way that I am. You can just open the doors and give people education. Education, hands down, is what shifts things for justice impacted people. Education is what opens our eyes. Education is what allows us to see new opportunities. And when it comes to technology, many of us that are incarcerated, like I said previously, are left behind. So if there's any type of education that can be given to system impacted people that's going to benefit them, and of course, if you can tie in some opportunities, we would love some opportunities. That's it. And that's what I will say to anybody that has the potential and the opportunity, but definitely the BDPA. Technology is needed. And for system impacted people, a lot of people that were incarcerated, they're coming home and they're missing decades. And
Yeah.
in order for them to be successful in this time, they got to understand technology.
And tech is, I mean, you're a perfect example of it, and those that you support and work with. Tech is an equalizer, right? I mean, being able to use it, being able to understand it, is huge, and it kind of sets the tone. Plus, in a lot of the tech space, you can either become an entrepreneur or, using technology, you can do a lot of things where you can get over those barriers after you come home. So we definitely want. Go ahead.
No, technology enables you to not need a boss.
There you
Well,
go.
you don't got to worry about people with felony or whatever's on your record. I just wanted opportunities are really endless.
For sure. So we got a couple hands up. I want to give. There's been a bunch of comments. You've been getting a bunch of applaud through the chat. Some great comments there. Some folks that want to work with you. This is what we've done this for, just to expose folks to the opportunity. I'm gonna do my best to put Chris in a headlock and make sure he's at the conference in August, and bring him over there. I probably won't have to do that, but he'll be there if he's available and in town. So you guys will get a chance to meet him there. But I want to give a couple seconds. I think I see Coach T. You want to jump on? You can, and then Timothy Butts. Definitely come on and give your comment. Go ahead, Coach T. Good to see you.
I thank you for Akil for putting this on, and I thank you, Christopher, for sharing your experience. It's great. Where are you from? I missed that in the beginning because I came in a little bit late. Where are you from originally?
I'm originally born and raised in Chicago.
Yeah. Okay, that's why we got much love right now, because that's my home too.
Well, know what it is.
Although I live in Maryland right now, born and raised in Chicago, South Side, proper Chicago, on Morgan Park is where I graduated from.
She said proper Chicago.
She said proper. You're only from Chicago when you know that what that means.
You understand?
Yeah, indeed.
And so I have two brothers who have been in the system, who are now two successful entrepreneurs. One running a trucking company, the other one running, believe it or not, a locksmith company. And he actually was in for murder. At age 17, he was with someone who committed the crime. And if you're with them, you're guilty. So he spent like 29 years of his life there. But out, he's a father, he's a grandfather actually now, and just doing well. So I say all of that to say I'm very, very passionate about those who have been locked up. I actually am starting a program called Free and Forgiven, so that, you know, Donald Trump can get away with all he's gotten away with and still get great positions. You should be able to. Free and forgiven, right? And then I put together a program that learn.eoto.space, where I'm trying to put, you know, in the hands of people, technology where they can build their own web server and their own mail server to start running their own, you know, building websites, having their own online store, and the endless possibilities. I've been in IT for over 40 years. I've did my master's thesis back in 89, at the University of California, and my project was on machine learning. I taught the system how to recognize the Russian alphabet. And so I've been in the machine learning space for a long, long time. I can't go through all of my credentials, but I'm really interested in working with you on any of your global projects. I'm also a certified project manager, a certified safe consultant, and all that other stuff. And I'm like prematurely retired myself, so I'm doing okay. I got some time on my hands. I even started a program recently to teach senior citizens how to code, and to also use AI where they're not scared. And that's the Go Can Code program. And I have 89-year-olds in my class. Okay. I have one gentleman who said, "Oh, I can get AI to write a rap song for me." Yeah. And then we're going to put it to music. So now he's Big Papa, Grandpapa, Papa. Okay. So they're learning all these things, and technology, Akil, is the key. It's like you said, the equalizer, because you can, with AI, one of my elderly wanted to start a travel agency, and we just created her business plan and her, you know, all of the things that she needs to start a travel agency in less than 5 minutes. Okay.
That's great. Hey, listen, Coach, we're gonna take this conversation offline, please.
Okay, that's fine. I want to make sure that I get a number or something.
Yes, look in the chat. If you can open the chat, you'll see Chris's email address. You'll see my email address. Okay. We should jump on a Zoom or something like ASAP, and delve into this. Thank you so much.
Okay, so I don't see email addresses. I see and there's a special reason I don't use LinkedIn. You guys may want to do it, but I don't use it for a certain reason.
You want to give us your information then?
Yeah, it's at be@eaz.com. be@eazz. I did put it in the chat. I'll do it again.
Okay. All right. I'll make sure I copy it and then and send a message to you and Chris, and we can.
Okay, Christopher, but you're my homeboy. What school did you graduate from?
I didn't. I ended up going to Lincoln's Challenge program down there in Rantoul. If you know about that program, yeah, I got in trouble, so I had to go to the program ran by the Army National Guard.
Okay.
I was going at the time before I got kicked out of school. I was going to Proviso East.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I was out there in Maywood, Bellwood, Humble Park. I was all over
you.
the city for real, different suburbs. Yeah.
Former boyfriend of mine was a captain of Maywood Police Department, believe it or not.
Yeah, we may know him. No, I'm playing.
No, he would have rehabilitated you there while he was, arresting you. So
That's
good
great.
brother.
There you go.
That's what's
Well, I know Devin, you want to jump back in. I know we a little bit over the time, so I want to give Devin a chance to close us out. I do want to, and I know he's going to do it, but I want to do it also. BDPA Con 25 is coming up, the 50th anniversary. Be there, be there, be there. It's going to be great. We're going to have, and come from wherever you are, whatever state you are, whatever, it's the national conference. This is going to be a great one. We're going to be doing some amazing stuff. We're also going to be doing some events at the Computer Museum, MEMS Computer Museum out in Roswell. So we're going to make sure that people get from downtown Atlanta to Roswell to this amazing space. I saw it a couple of days ago, and it blew me away. So anybody that's in tech and are interested in what's going on and how tech has grown through the years, you're going to see some amazing stuff there, and our stuff is going to be great. Devin is, blow up your spot. Devin's going to be DJing a bunch of stuff. He does amazing stuff. That's his side thing, but it's really should be his main thing. You see the DJ on his shirt. So we want to make sure that we promote him, and we're there for BDPA Con 25. Make sure that you guys are there. And if you're in Atlanta and you're part of Atlanta Tech Week, see us. We have a booth at Atlanta Tech Week in Render ATL at the Atlanta Mart, and I'll be there this afternoon. Chris will be there this afternoon. Got a bunch of stuff going on there. So today is the last day of the Tech Week. Definitely come through, and thank you for joining us. Devin, it's yours. Thank you, bro.
Akil, Chris, thank you both for sharing with us today. This has been an amazing conversation. I look forward to having Vanguard on because I get to multitask a little bit during these talks. But I was tuned in today. I even put some things in the chat, so the message resonated with me, and I'm sure it resonated with others. So again, if you're watching this on YouTube, like, share, subscribe, comment below, click the bell so you know when we post. Share this with somebody who needs to hear this message. Share this with someone who you know is doing the work that Chris and Akil should be partnering with to move this mission forward. I actually just text someone I'm on the side. Hey, do you know Chris Willars and Akil Timber? She's like, no, should I? Yes, you should. So connection coming soon there. But no, thank you all for tuning in today. Thank you all for listening. Thank you for watching on YouTube. Until next time, stay safe and stay blessed. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, everyone.